Okay, so CloudFlare settings, you'll get to this screen the same way you got to your DNS screen, that drop-down menu that appears right next to the domain name and or names that you have entered into that dashboard area. So CloudFlare settings, and more importantly, their maximization relative to the optimizations you have already made. The objective here is to get all of these things working in perfect synergy with one another, like a finely tuned watch. So we're going to go over precisely how to do that with respect to CloudFlare right now in CloudFlare's settings. So you're in your settings page here, and the settings overview tab. There's a settings overview, security settings, and performance settings. So let's begin at the beginning. The settings overview here, you can adjust your overall security and performance profiles on this tab. It moves from general to particular, as well as some of the other important settings. If you want greater control on the security and performance settings, and we do, click the tabs above and we will. So your security profile. Choose the appropriate security profile for your website, which will automatically adjust each of the security settings. If you choose to customize an individual security setting, the profile will become custom. I would go ahead and recommend medium here, especially if your site is prone to DDoS attacks. If you've experienced those in the past, or you've actually experienced an actual hack before, or if you get a lot of spam. Otherwise, you can go to low. High, use high only in the event of a DDoS, an actual DDoS attack. Your performance profile, you're going to want to go ahead and set this to custom out of all of these drop-down options, because we will be customizing that again to get CloudFlare to work synergistically with all of the other optimizations that we have already made. This is of vital importance here. Well, this and another element on it looks like it's in a W tab. Okay, so your cache purge here, immediately purge cache resources for your website. Let's take a look at that real quick. How do I purge my cache? You have the choice of purging resources individually and the purge single file line here. For example, if you altered a single file, you're one of those concatenated files that we've created by way of auto-optimize. If you made changes to that, CloudFlare is caching that, and will serve that cached version of that at the edge to all of its different what are called POPs, or those server locations around the world. So if you make changes to that, for example, one of those auto-optimized concatenated JavaScript files, you can purge that single file here. How do I purge everything from cache? And I recommend this as well, as does CloudFlare. CloudFlare strongly recommends using single file purge instead of full cache purge in most situations. And the reason is because that immediately makes your edge cache cold. If you purge everything in your CloudFlare cache, your entire edge cache is cold, not your server-side cache, not what we've done with page caching in W3 Total Cache, but your entire edge cache. So you really don't want that. Whenever possible, purge a single file. Oh, it is here. Development mode. Whenever you are making changes to your website, you want to enable development mode. Okay? And the reason being is that immediately shuts off CloudFlare's cache, the delivery of what it has in its cache relative to your resources and assets. If you do not turn development mode on and you're trying to do some development to your website, and you go to take a look, have a preview at what it is that you're changing, odds are you're not going to get the new version, because your CloudFlare will serve you the cached version that it has in its cache. And that automatically actually, if you turn this on and forget about it, and forget that you have it on, it automatically toggles off after 3 hours. IPv6 support. You're going to want to go ahead and enable that for full. Sudo IPv4, and you can read the particulars as to why here. and here. These don't have much to do with speed optimization, so I'm going to sort of gloss over them. Go ahead and add your pseudo IPv4 header there. Speedy, if you've opted for a paid plan, the Pro, Business, or Enterprise, Speedy will automatically be enabled for you for those of you who are serving your site over HTTPS. Always online, that is an option for you to enable, and you can learn more about that there. IP geolocation, go ahead and have that on. If you use Google Analytics, if that's the analytics that you use, you can manage that here and enter it. SSL. Free SSL is one of the things that, one of the advantages to CloudFlare as well. If you sign up for a CloudFlare account, even the free version, you get a free SSL. Here's where you would manage that. And if you made use of their SSL that they were offering, you would use flexible SSL. If you have an SSL on your host, full SSL, and full SSL, the strict option requires a valid SSL cert. Your mobile redirect, you're not going to have to worry about this, remember, because you are using WP Touch, and you can't alter this unless you have other things going on. You don't really have to worry about that anyway. So let's check out security settings. Your security profile, you've already set that to medium on the basic settings, right there. Now, this feature is only for business and enterprise accounts. Basic protection level we've already set. Your challenge passage TTL or time to leave. I would set that at I would go ahead and set that around an hour. Again, that's relative to your needs. Email address obfuscation. What that does is essentially hide any email addresses that are associated, that are included in your source code, because sometimes malicious bad actors out there will either manually scan or have programs that will scan site source code to look for those things in order to sell your email address. So you want to go ahead and turn that on. Some of these things are going to be paid for features. So and some of them are not. They're going to be free. If you have so I'm going to gloss over a lot of these that don't have to do with actual performance. Server-side exclude, you can take a look at that. Browser integrity checks, go ahead and have that on. Have hot linking protection on. The advanced security firewall, again, it's a pro, business, or enterprise feature. Your web application firewall here will largely configure itself if you are on a paid account. Now, performance settings. Let's talk about this. This is where things get pretty cool. Your individual performance settings. Now, I would recommend that you cache aggressively as opposed to in the simplified or basic fashion. Now, the aggressive mode of caching will cache everything including query strings. So, and that's often one of the warnings that comes up in some of those speed testing tools that were exampled, that sometimes proxy caching servers don't cache things with query strings attached, but we can cache them and then serve that cache from the edge by using the aggressive setting. And again, here's a relative detail of what that means. Minimum expire time to leave, TTL. Specify how long CloudFlare cached resources will remain on your visitor's computer. I would recommend around 5 days before CloudFlare comes back and recrawls for those resources. You can learn more here. Let's take a quick look at that. The minimum expire TTL specifies how long CloudFlare cached resources will remain on your visitor's computer. Now, these are the resources here that are automatically cached by CloudFlare. You can see those are the types that are automatically cached, that you don't have to configure any sort of page rule to get cached, and we'll talk about page rules later. Now, auto minify. We've already minified. We've minified using auto optimize. So you want to leave all of these unchecked, all of these off. If you attempt to minify with more than one, minify your site's resources, your site's assets by more than one means, it will break things. It doesn't make things better, doubling up on minification. So go ahead and leave those off. Rocket Loader. Let's talk about Rocket Loader for a moment. For those of you who were not able to concatenate all of your scripts with auto optimize, or had to exclude some, and or if you attempted to concatenate all of them into a single footer file, your website broke, Rocket Loader may very well be your salvation. And the reason being is that it is a CloudFlare beta feature that will automatically asynchronously load all of your JavaScript resources, including inline scripts, just like auto optimize does, but it does it in a very unique fashion, a very different and non-traditional way than does any other means by which to asynchronously load your scripts. So for those of you who were not able to, with auto optimize, concatenate and asynchronously load your scripts, you will want to try Rocket Loader. The problem with Rocket Loader and WordPress is that it's basically an all or nothing scenario unless you know how to code. What I mean by that is it's in essence a hammer as opposed to a scalpel. On or off. You're either asynchronously loading with Rocket Loader all of your JavaScript resources or none of them. There is a manual option here wherein you add certain tags into your source code onto your scripts, but getting that done without knowing code falls outside of the purview of this course. So at any rate, those of you who are unable to use auto optimize to asynchronously load your JavaScript, go ahead and give this a shot on Automatic and then test. If nothing breaks, then nothing breaks, but sometimes Rocket Loader will break as well. So it really is something that you have to employ and then implement and then test. Mirage 2 is a pro feature which will automatically optimizes image loading through virtualized and lazy loading images. I simply do not recommend you use this. It basically just delays the load of images on mobile phones and mobile devices until a certain point that it's really it can be more distracting for a user in the end to wait to get all the content, and then the amount of time it takes for those delayed images to load. I wouldn't recommend you use this. You can try it and test, and try on different mobiles, actually looking to see what the effect is. But we rarely use this. It's just not to us a very impressive performance feature. Polish image optimization. Now, we've already optimized our images. However, this is and you will want to do that server side. However, if you have a pro, business, or enterprise account, you can go ahead and take a look at your options here. The basic plus JPEG option is lossy for JPEGs, and it will convert large JPEGs to progressive. Now that progressive rendering is primarily why we have it on. And progressive rendering is that it'll serve a kind of a pixelated version, and it'll fade into the full high resolution version. So those are your settings. Some of these things you will want to particularize for yourself, and again you're going to have to go through some experimentation. I've given you a very general overview here of how these ought to be configured, but you want to particularize everything to your site and work off of the basic the generalities, the principles, the general configuration that I've just shown you here. One of the coolest things about CloudFlare is a feature that they have called page rules, where you can, on a page-by-page basis, configure a bunch of different things that CloudFlare does and isolate it down to single URLs. So you can get very granular with some of these things. And I'd like to show you how to maximize those page rules right now. And I'm going to give you a couple pro tips in there for those of you on shared hosting to get your site that is on shared hosting to be, in the end, as fast as a site that is on a VPS.